So let's start with JC Latham.
Yeah, so JC Latham was the Titans' first round pick, 7th overall, did stick and pick, did not trade out of that position like we thought they were inclined to do. Offensive tackle out of Alabama. Here's the basic introduction, and we're going to run down each one of these guys from an informational standpoint so that you have the 411 on what exactly the Titans have signed up for. Then we'll get to some fake questions, real answers. JC Latham, he played left tackle at IMG Academy in high school, teammates with JJ McCarthy, linebacker Nolan Smith, who's an Eagle, and cornerback DJ Turner. Got a basketball and track background, big shot put guy in high school, 5-star recruit coming out, number 1 offensive tackle in the 2021 recruiting class, and the number 3 recruit nationally. He is only 21 years old, and we're going to turn to the draft Bible, the beast, Dane Brugler's masterpiece over at The Athletic, for some basic information on each of these guys. The scouting report that I think is the most universally accepted. And so JC Latham, in his final season at Alabama, played 14 of 14 games at right tackle, played right tackle at Alabama, which we'll talk about more in just a moment, was second team All-American, first team All-SEC. Measurements, exactly what you want in your tackle, right? 6'5" and change, 342 pounds, a big boy on the outside, huge wingspan, 84 3/8 inch wing, 35 1/8 inch arms. So no concerns when it comes to height or length. The strengths that are listed by Dan Brugler, arguably the strongest player in the draft class. We've been saying that all season long. Squares up with broad shoulders, long arms, large hands, moves well for his size, and his 340 plus pounds are well distributed. He wears it well. You can see that on tape. You can see it in the press conference when he's just walking around. He carries 340 kind of sneakily, if that's even possible. He's able to kick out and establish a strong base to cover up wide speed, violently uses his hands with no gloves to meet and control rushers. He talked about that in his press conference, how he only wears gloves when he's got blood on his hands, which is metal. Like, that's badass. And doesn't want to come out of the game when the refs see the blood on his hands. He generates a surge in the run game with upper body strength and lower body explosion. His grip strength is remarkable, and he won't shy away from the chance to toss, dump, and ragdoll his man. Embraces the bully role and is very proud of his self-given TK nickname, which stands for Trench King. Durable and did not miss a single game in his 3 years at Alabama, including 27 straight starts to finish his career. He played nearly 1750 snaps over that stretch on the offensive line and rarely even left the field, let alone missed a game. A couple of weaknesses that are listed here. Undisciplined and youthful tendencies. Not shocking. Played just 3 years in college, only 21 years old coming into the NFL. He's guilty of oversetting as a pass blocker, allowing rushers to cross his face and win inside. That's where we're going to get to some of the concerns with that weight, right? At that size, he moves well for that size, but naturally the give and the take with that is, well, at that size, if you get your hands on a guy, they're not running through you. They're not going anywhere. But they may be able to counter and cross you inside or get around the edge if you overset and burn you a little bit with true speed off the edge. So that's a concern. That's the give and take there. He doesn't always bring his hips in the run game, causing him to lunge off balance at times, combined for 18 penalties over his 2 seasons as a starter, including 7 false starts and 6 holding calls. In conclusion, Brugler writes that overall, Latham needs to clean up his inconsistent yet fixable habits, but he offers elite play strength and functional football movements to stay square and overmatch his opponent. He's an ascending prospect with the talent to win a starting right tackle job as an NFL rookie, although some teams project him best inside at guard, and he has him graded as a first round number 13 overall in the class. So with that, JT, let's dive into some fake questions and real answers. I think that ends with an interesting notion. Starting as a right tackle, some teams projecting him best inside at guard. We'll address that and some other things. But what's the first fake question we had sent in today?
Well, the last thing you said right there, first round grade, Brugler had him ranked at number 13 overall. Of course,
Right.
The Titans select him at number 7. So was Latham at a reach at pick 7? And should the Titans have traded down instead?
So anybody that listened to this show pre-draft knows that we were strong proponents of trading down, adding capital on day 1 or on day 2. And I think, we knew that the tackles in the first round were going to fly off the board in probably the top 20. I think all 6 ended up going top 20, if I'm not mistaken, JT. Yeah, so the top 20 this year, weird, because I know this because it was 6 quarterbacks, 6 tackles, and then 8 other guys. So 12 of the top 20 picks were tackles and quarterbacks, which the quarterbacks thing bonkers, crazy, irresponsible, but that's neither here nor there. Um, Maybe we underrated just how highly you had to draft your guy if you wanted your guy. We knew before we went into this draft, I was pretty confident that he was tackle 2 on their board. I said that on the last episode of this show before we got to the draft, that I think JC Latham is their second favorite tackle to Joe Alt in this class. And maybe that was too low because we heard over the weekend that Latham was Bill Callahan, the Titans' new offensive line coach, son of Brian, offensive line guru. He was his
Father
favorite.
of Brian, but
What did I say? Son?
son.
Yeah, flip that. Father of Brian. He was his favorite player in the entire draft class. This was Bill's guy. And we had hints of this throughout the draft season, right? Back in, I think, early March when the Alabama Pro Day happened, we had a lot of footage and a lot of reporting of, hey, Bill Callahan's down there. He's spending a lot of one-on-one time with JC Latham. He's got his hands on him. They're talking, it later came out that when Latham was talking with the Titans brass, it was supposed to be a 30-minute conversation they had planned on the books that ended up turning into a 2-hour conversation. Like, this is a guy that they were interested in for a long time. And I think you just have to defer to an expertise like Bill Callahan has and say, listen, if this guy thinks this is the dude in this class, and we said coming in, hey, the top 3, maybe 4 tackles in this class would all be tackle 1 in any other draft class. That's how talented they are. He sees this guy as a bona fide blue chip player. Go and get him at 7. And that's what the Titans did after Joe Alt already went off the board at 5 to the Chargers. And you had teams the Titans knew were hungry for a tackle behind them. If they had moved back to like 13 or 14, the Jets took tackle at 11. And who else took tackle? Another team
Saints
took
tackle as well.
Tackle. Right. So both of those teams, I think, absolutely liable to take Latham if the Titans had moved back. And since Latham clearly was their guy, I don't think you can say it was a reach at 7 because if you see Latham as a significantly better tackle, or if you saw Latham and Alt as significantly better tackles than the next group, which they may very well have, you got to get your guy, even if it means foregoing some extra capital.
Yeah, I think I'm right there with you. This clearly was the guy that they probably wanted the most because we even heard from Rand Carthen, there was the feeling that Joe Alt was going to be gone, so there seemed to be less attention on him from the get-go, something that we kind of heard even going back to the Combine. This feels like a foregone conclusion at this point in hindsight.
Well, what have we said 2 years in a row, JT? I've run a poll twice in January. Yes. There's always a guy that's the first my guy in consensus with all of Titans Twitter, all of the Titans Nation. Like, it's the guy they attach themselves to as soon as the season ends and draft season begins. And last year was Paris Johnson Jr., and this year was Joe Alt. Got to get that guy at 11 last year. Got to get that guy at 7 this year. And I ran a poll to confirm that, and it was overwhelming. That's the guy. Got to get that guy back in January. And then I tweet out and I say, unfortunately, you should mark him off of your list of potential guys because it's way too good to be true. People are way too in agreement on this, way too early. It's not going to happen. He's not going to be there. And twice in a row, it's happened. So just know going into next year, whoever everybody loves in January, just do yourself a favor, scratch him out, take your hopes and throw them in the trash. It's not happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw out Luther Burden already from Missouri as they need a wide receiver or something like that. That's gonna be the guy next year.
April 30th. JT's planting the flag on Luther Burden. Write that down.
Look, Jacob even just said in the comments right there, next year Luther Burden. Everybody's on the train already.
It's not happening, so go ahead and write it off your list. I'm sorry that Luther Burden cannot be a Tennessee Titan.
I'm going to defer, whether it's a reach or not. I'm going to defer to Bill Callahan on this one, like everyone else in this city has said, because guess what? Bill Callahan probably knows more about the offensive line than literally every media member in this market combined. Yes. There's just no arguing at this point. No. There's no arguing about it. I think that if he is the guy that Bill Callahan wanted, they were going to go out and get him no matter what. And I think that's what they did. Now, there have been questions why he was offensive tackle 2 for you. He was offensive tackle 3 for me, but that was mostly because I just really, really like Olu Fashanu. That was like kind of one of my guys. So not a knock on Latham in particular.